So you want to start reselling online, but it feels too overwhelming. Or maybe you don't know what to sell or where to even find stuff to sell. I know exactly how you feel. And that's why I'm going to simplify it all down so that anyone can learn how to succeed. I'm Colin, and I've helped thousands of people start and scale their resale businesses. I've spent the last year dedicated to learning every detail about reselling so I could build the most comprehensive and complete guide on reselling. I'll cover every detail that you need to know. Maybe you want a side hustle to pay the bills, a family vacation, or to get rid of that credit card debt. Or maybe you want to replace your job and work for yourself. Whatever your goal is, reselling is one of the most realistic ways to start making money fast. You don't need a bunch of money to start with. You can literally start with 20 bucks. You can do it after work, on the weekend for a couple hours, or do it full time. And millions of people have built reselling businesses that pay their rent and support their livelihoods. And so can you. So many valuable items get passed up every day, and you just need some basic skills and free tools, and you can begin to pick up thousands of dollars that other people leave behind. Reselling is really pretty simple. It's moving a product from a place where it's cheap or overlooked to a place where it's in high demand. This is how businesses all around us work. Walmart, for example, buys products for cheap from the factory and then sells it to you for more. Why do you buy it from Walmart and not from the factory? Because Walmart has done the work to make it easy for you to find and buy what you want. Secondhand reselling is the same idea but with used products. Instead of buying products from a factory, you find cheap stuff that people are getting rid of and sell it online. You just need to know where to find it for cheap and where it will have higher demand. Your job as a reseller is to get good at 4 things. Number 1, picking items that actually sell. 2, buying them for the right price. 3, listing them well so that buyers will trust you. And 4, shipping quickly and consistently. That's it. Now, if you've looked into reselling before, you've probably heard people talk about all sorts of complicated tactics and methods of reselling in order to get the maximum profit. At the beginning, don't worry about these things. Profit calculations, shipping policies, negotiation tactics, and sourcing deals will all come later. All you need to worry about is learning what is valuable and what sells fast. Over time, that will become a system. You'll get faster, buy fewer bad products, and your profit per hour will increase dramatically. Where can I find stuff to resell? Easiest answer, your house. Everyone has stuff that they don't use anymore that's worth something. The truth is, in today's world, we are extremely blessed with material goods, but that's created a massive market of unwanted products that work perfectly fine but are no longer desired because they aren't the newest, shiniest thing. That's where you find gold as a reseller. Apart from your own home, you can also find products doing arbitrage online or in retail stores or through secondhand reselling. Secondhand reselling is buying used items from thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, flea markets, or people on Facebook Marketplace. This is where beginners start because the inventory is cheap and it's easy to find hidden gems. It's also consistent because people are always donating or decluttering or selling their old stuff. You've probably heard people toss around the term arbitrage, but what does it actually mean? It may sound confusing, but arbitrage is just buying something from one marketplace or store where it's cheaper and then reselling it on another marketplace where it sells for more. What is the difference between retail and online arbitrage? Retail arbitrage is buying discounted items at stores like Walmart, Target, Ross, TJ Maxx, and then selling them online. Online arbitrage, on the other hand, is buying from one website and then reselling on another website or marketplace. The key to arbitrage is knowing the demand and price of items on other marketplaces before you buy them. In a later video, we'll get into how to understand that demand and pricing and strategies you can use for any type of product. You need to keep a few things in mind if you plan on reselling. One of the keys of reselling is speed. Many people need things gone fast because they're moving, a relative has passed away, or they need quick cash in a tough circumstance. If you can learn how to harness speed and make it work for you, you will find tons of deals at huge discounts. The other element is demand. Almost everything has some inherent value, but its potential to be flipped depends on how many people want that item. For example, 2 nearly identical products could sell for vastly different amounts. Flipping is about identifying those items which someone wants and are willing to pay for. You'll be shocked when you discover how much people are willing to pay for things that you think are completely worthless. That is the beauty of reselling. It's also important to remember that reselling isn't a get-rich-quick thing. It takes time, everyone makes mistakes when they're starting out, and it may feel uncertain at the beginning if your stuff will even sell. However, these tools and courses will make it simple, easy, and extremely fast to help you find your first flip and then scale that into your own small business. Just remember to be patient with yourself. Keep learning and moving forward, and I promise you that you will have success in your reselling business. In the next video, we'll show you exactly how to get your first flip and break down the process of knowing if something is worth money. It's your first time reselling, or maybe you're a seasoned pro. Either way, I'm going to show you exactly how to find your first item to sell and turn it into a repeatable process that earns you real money. So how do we do this? The first step is to go sourcing. Sourcing is just a fancy word for finding items to sell, whether at your own house, online, a sale, or in public. Here are 5 of the best places to find cheap items to flip when you're starting out. Number 1, your house. This one seems obvious, but if you have old items at your house that you don't need anymore and they're just collecting dust, sell them. Number 2, thrift stores. People drop off hundreds of perfectly good products at secondhand stores every week. Thrift stores have an endless supply of random stuff, and no 2 stores are ever the same, which is in your favor as a reseller. I'd recommend going to all the thrift stores in your area to get an idea of what each one sells and how they price things. Number 3, garage sales and yard sales. If it's summertime or you live somewhere warm, garage sale season may be in full swing. In that case, you can find garage sales in Facebook groups, driving around on the weekend, or by asking people you know who go to them frequently. I love garage sales because most of the time people just want their stuff gone. You can get especially good deals here if you buy items in a bundle. Number 4, flea markets. You can do a quick Google search to find flea markets in your area. Flea markets are like a collection of yard sales that happen in one spot. They happen frequently and are a solid way to consistently find cheap goods. Number 5, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and other online marketplaces. This is a great place to start as a reseller because you don't even need to leave your house. And there isn't much competition since the listings are local to where you live. Look for people selling in bulk to find the best deals. And keep in mind the art of negotiation can help out a lot online and in person. In flipping, you make money when you buy. This is a phrase I heard when I first started reselling, and I didn't understand it at first, but now I realize how wise it is. Essentially, what this phrase means is you only make money flipping if you buy something for a great deal. The biggest mistake that new resellers make when buying stuff is buying a good item at a bad price and buying a bad item for a good price. Let's break this down. What does it mean to buy a good item? A good item is an item which sells consistently. In other words, this is an item which people are actively buying online. I'll explain later how you can find these items. Now, what does it mean to buy an item at a good price? A good price is when the item is priced below what this item commonly sells for online. Resellers call this the market value. This is the price that people are realistically willing to pay for an item. The thing is, value in used products is slightly different than value in new products. When you want to buy something new, it generally has an accepted price. For example, if you go to Walmart, you can get a water bottle for $20. Generally speaking, no matter where you go, that water bottle will be $20. But for used stuff, pricing isn't so straightforward. There's no official or set value for a used product. The value of used goods is determined by its condition and what people are willing to pay for it. This is very important to understand because part of your job as a reseller is to get good at understanding how much something is truly worth. How much are people actually willing to pay for an item? I often see people make the mistake of thinking that just because something is listed on eBay for $500, that means that it's worth $500. Actively listed products are not an accurate measure of an item's value. I can list my used toilet paper for $1,000 on eBay, but that doesn't mean it's worth that much. When you're trying to determine the value of a product, you need to look at how much it is actually sold for. If you search something on eBay, all the results you see are active listings. These are important, but not what you want to see if you are looking to know how much something is actually worth. Instead, when you search something on eBay, you are going to want to go into the search filters and select the check for sold items. This will update the results to show you items which have actually sold on eBay. Resellers will refer to this as sold comps. This means comparable sold items, or in other words, items that have sold that are comparable what you might sell. This is a much better way to know what something is worth. Along with an accurate value of what something is worth, you also need to know how often it sells. Sell-through rate is one of the best metrics to determine if a product sells often. Sell-through rate is looking at how many of this product are currently listed versus how many have sold in a recent period, such as the last 90 days. Sell-through rate is calculated as number of sold listings over number of sold listings plus number of active listings. Calculating sell-through can be complicated, but what's most important is that you understand that it is a measure of how often something sells in relation to how many people are selling it. If there are a ton of active listings but not many sold listings, that means your product will have a lot of competition and is not likely to sell. Aim for items that have a sell-through rate over 35%. Remember to also look at how many times this item is sold in the last 90 days. If it's sold once, it will be a lot harder to sell than if it's sold 30 times. Keep that in mind when looking at the sell-through rate. 2 items can have the same sell-through rate, but one could sell 10 times as often. Don't worry if this seems confusing. I'll show you some tools that calculate all of this for you and make it super simple. As a reseller, your goal is to determine if something is a good item to sell and if you can get it at a good price as quickly as possible. You will come across millions of items that you potentially could resell, but you have to be able to decide which ones are worth your time. So, how do I know if a product is actually worth reselling? In order to make this decision, you need to know two things: how much something is worth and how often it sells. Let me show you 3 different methods for figuring out what something is worth. First, Google Lens. This is probably the most common method because it's easy and fast. If you have the Google app downloaded on your phone, you can tap this icon to do a search by image. This allows you to take a picture of anything, and then Google will try and find similar images on the internet. One thing to remember here is that Google Lens isn't a valuation tool by itself. It's a search tool. Google won't help you figure out what this item is worth. It will just help you figure out what it is. Sometimes in the results, you'll see websites where this item is being sold. This can give you a vague idea of what something is worth, but it should not be your only means for determining value. The pros of using Google Lens is that it's fast and easy. You can quickly figure out what something is and get a very general idea of an item's new value. The cons of using Google Lens is that it can be very misleading. Google Lens can make you think that something is much more valuable than it actually is. Often in a rush of excitement, someone will search an item that they find on Google Lens and see a website selling it for $500. They buy it only for it to collect dust in their home, as they learn that it was likely only worth a couple of bucks to begin with. Second, the eBay app. This app provides you with information on how much and how often an item sells. You can search an item on the app either by typing in its name, scanning its barcode, or taking a picture. If you are reselling media items, scanning a barcode will be the fastest way to search. Remember to filter your search by sold items so that you can see how much an item is actually selling for. A helpful tip is to hit the lock icon next to it to save your filter so that next time you search something, it shows sold results. For example, most people use eBay for finding sold comps or price comparisons for their items. This means looking up an item and then seeing how many of that item have sold recently. eBay's search by image feature can be helpful if you don't know how to describe what you're wanting to search. But be warned, it's not very good. Unless the item you're searching sells a ton on eBay, you will often get the wrong results. Often people will use Google Lens to figure out the name for an item and then type that name into eBay to see sold listings. Last is Flipper. Flipper is an app that combines the pros of Google Lens with the accurate secondhand product data from eBay and allows you to get that information at 10 times the speed you would from scanning barcodes. All you have to do is take a picture of a shelf or a group of items and it will do all the research for you, telling you the average sold price for that item, how recently it's sold and the sell-through rate, and even giving you a score to know if we should buy it. Using tools like this can give you a massive advantage when you're first starting out. Although you don't need Flipper to resell, I highly recommend it because it will save you so much time finding the right flips and it will save you from making mistakes buying the wrong stuff. Flipper will simplify all of the purchasing decisions into one number called the Flipper score, which is a number on a scale from 1 to 10. The higher the number, the better the potential flip. If you're just starting out, I recommend looking at the item price and the Flipper score. That will tell you everything you need to know. I'd keep an eye out for items that have a Flipper score over 6. You can use the profit calculator in the Flipper app to see how much you can buy a product for in order to make your desired profit. Aim to make at least 30% profit on every item when you first start out. Experienced resellers can do well with lower margins, but you want to start as high as possible. Keep in mind that there may be a shipping cost when you sell an item, and fees from other platforms will eat away at your profit. Flipper will help you take all of that into account. So now you have a way to determine what something is worth and how often it sells. Let's learn the specifics of flipping movies and making real money while doing it. First off, why sell movies? In the age of streaming, you don't see DVDs, VHS, or Blu-rays as often. But surprisingly, this is a booming category for collectors and movie buffs. Because most people view this physical media as dead, they toss out their collections. Yet there are millions of people who will do anything to get that one movie that they had as a kid. In my opinion, this is one of the most overlooked categories in flipping. There are plenty of movies collecting dust at thrift stores that are worth $30, $40, or even up to $100. Second, movies are great to sell because they're easy to find, cheap to ship, and simple to test. You can start by finding movies around your house, in thrift stores, garage sales, and flea markets, which can lead to massive gains and huge profits. In the past, you would need to have extensive movie knowledge to know what something is worth. But in the technology and AI age, the playing field is leveled. You can look up each movie individually on eBay or Amazon, but that takes a while to type each one in. Scanning the barcode on the back is a bit faster, but you still need to do each movie one at a time. I use Flipper, so all I have to do is take a picture of the stack or a shelf of DVDs, and it will identify all of them for me and pull in the information I need to know if it's worth flipping. In terms of where to find movies, I often find shelves and shelves of DVDs at Goodwill, Savers, Salvation Army, or other local thrift stores. These are a great place to source movies because they often will price them at a flat price like $1 $1 per movie or 5 for $3. Thrift stores don't have the time to research every movie they put out on the shelves. This is great because it means we can find movies worth $10, $20, or even $100 or more for $1 each. Other important factors to keep in mind while you're outsourcing movies include the item quality and condition. A DVD may sell for a ton, but it needs to be in mint condition to be worth that much. Does the DVD you're looking at match the description? Flipper will help you with that, but it's not always possible to know everything about the condition from just a photo. For example, some DVD sets are worth a ton when all the DVDs are complete in the box, but you may be looking at a set that has 3 of the 4 DVDs, making it worth less. You can always sell each DVD individually, but you need to determine if that will be worth your investment. Always open the case and make sure it has the right disc. Check the disc for any scratches. A few light scratches could be fine, but if it looks bad, don't risk it. Eventually, you'll test the disc at home to make sure it works properly, but when you're outsourcing, your goal is to rule out the obviously bad DVDs. Along with that is knowing how to sell the DVD. Is it better to ship it out and list it to millions of people on eBay? Or should you sell it locally on Facebook Marketplace and not have to worry about fees and shipping costs? We'll break down how to weigh those trade-offs in a future video. Also, keep in mind that you can usually buy movies cheaper if you buy them in bulk. If you're at a garage sale, find a few cheap ones that are worth reselling and then ask the owner if you can buy all of them with a discount. Chances are that person is just trying to clear out their stuff, and more often than not, they'll give you a discount. You can also get good deals on online marketplaces if the seller needs their stuff gone ASAP. And that's it. Now you're on your way to making your first flip with movies. Good luck, and we'll see you in the next video. Let's walk through everything you need to know to list your product so you can start making real money. The reality is there isn't one perfect place to sell your stuff. There's advantages and disadvantages to everywhere you sell. I won't get into the pros and cons of every possible platform you can sell on, but here are some of the basics. The best way to approach selling is to think of each place you could sell like a different group of people. If I'm trying to sell my bike, I could go outside my house with a sign that says bike for sale. The only people who can buy that bike are the people who walk by my house. No matter how good of a deal my bike is, if someone doesn't walk by my house, they won't buy my bike. Now let's pretend instead that I rent some space in Times Square in New York City. Now there are hundreds of thousands of people that see me selling my bike. The chances of me finding the right person to buy my bike have increased dramatically. This concept is exactly the same when selling your stuff online. If you post something on a local website like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, your market of potential buyers is limited by those in your area. On the other hand, if you post stuff on online global marketplaces like eBay, anyone who visits that site can be a potential buyer. You also need to understand the cost of selling online. If you sell something on eBay, Mercari, OfferUp, or whatnot, or other large platforms like this, they charge you a fee. This is the equivalent of renting space in New York in my hypothetical scenario. These platforms want a cut of whatever I sell on their marketplace. Selling online exposes you to more people, but there is a cost for that service. On the other hand, if you sell locally, you can avoid these fees. Sometimes it makes sense to sell things locally, but generally it's worth it to sell online so you could reach more people, charge more, and make more money. eBay is a great platform to start selling on because they have over 134 million people buying on their website. They have an established platform and it's easy to use. You can start by creating an eBay account at ebay.com and then click sign in. After you create an account, click list an item. Type in the name of the product you're trying to sell and eBay will try and match it with something that is sold like that item before on their platform. Using that method, eBay will walk you through most of the listing process. But there's a few tips that I want you to be aware of. My favorite way to list things is to use eBay's Sell One Like This feature. If you find a sold eBay listing that matches the product you're selling, tap the 3 dots at the top of the screen and then click on the button that says Sell One Like This. This will autofill 90% of the details you need for the listing and will save you a ton of time. Next, you want to make sure that you have a clear title. There are all kinds of opinions and videos about the best way to title your items, but honestly, I found that just looking at the titles of other people's items works best. Don't overthink this part. eBay is already doing lots of different things with the algorithm to help buyers find what they're looking for. Next, taking a good picture is one of the most important parts of listing. If you have unappealing pictures, people won't want to buy your stuff. The good news is, it's really easy to take good pictures. All you need is your phone camera, some decent lighting, and a white poster board. Lighting gets overcomplicated a lot, but the key is that you have bright, consistent lighting. A window in the afternoon is great. If you don't have great lighting from windows, then grab some lamps from around your house and use those. You could set up a white poster board like this. to create a solid background. This just helps people focus on the item you're selling and prevents them from getting distracted by other things in the image. It also helps create trust with the buyer. When taking pictures, make sure you take a few photos from different angles and capture all important details. If there are tags or specific details that someone might want to know about your item, make sure to capture those. If there are any defects or visible wear on your item, make sure you document that. You can never have too many pictures. After you take photos of your item, you'll want to determine the condition, description, and details. eBay will ask you to enter a condition for the item, such as new, used, like new, used good, etc. You'll want to be very honest with the condition. If you say something is like new but it's obviously worn, your buyers will be upset and they'll rate you lower. For the description, always start by describing the condition of the item in more detail. If there's a scratch or a tear on an item, explain it. If it's missing something, explain it. If some part of the item doesn't work, explain it. There's no benefit in keeping secrets from your buyers. They'll figure it out when they buy it, and if they aren't expecting it, it will make them rate you lower, or they could even return the item, leading to less sales and less profit. This is also a good time to mention that you should always test your items before selling. You'll always make more selling an item if you can include the word tested in the title. This is how people know that your item works. It also gives buyers peace of mind when they purchase your item. Testing an item will look different depending on what it actually is, so you'll have to use your judgment for what that means. If you can't test something for whatever reason, make sure to mention that it is untested in the title and description. How do I price and ship an item? The hard part for pricing was already done when you sourced it. If you've saved your item in Flipper, you can easily see what its average sold price was. This will give you a starting place to price your item. The average sold price isn't always the best price to list your item. I often go lower than this number to help my inventory move faster. On Flipper, if you scan an item, you can click Active to see all the currently listed items. If you look at the distribution chart, you can see how other people have priced this item. This can give you an idea of how to price your item so that it is an obvious pick to a buyer. There's different strategies to pricing, but fundamentally they all come down to how long you're willing to hold on to your item. If you sell your item lower than the average sale price, then your item is likely to sell faster. If you price it at or above the average sale price, your item is likely to sell slower. Keep this in mind as the inventory of items that you have builds up. You only make money when something sells, so it's usually to your advantage to have something sell rather than have it sit at your house forever. You can price your item as buy it now or an auction. Auctions are great for rare or collectible items, but for reselling general products, I'd stick with buy it now so that you can make sure you cover your costs. You can also select allow offers in the pricing section to allow people to send you offers. There are two main ways to increase your chances of an item selling on eBay: promotions and offers. Promotions are eBay's way of advertising your item to more people, but they want a bigger cut of the pie. You enter a percentage value that you're willing to spend, and eBay will promote your product more. The higher the ad rate percentage, the more they will promote it. For beginners, I'd recommend avoiding promotions altogether, but if you want to experiment with it, I recommend no more than 7%. Due to recent changes, eBay will basically guarantee that you pay them that percentage if your item sells, so incorporate it into your costs if you plan on using it. eBay already has standard fees of around 15%, so adding a 7% fee can bring the total up to 25%. Offers is another way that you can entice people to buy your products. You choose how much of a deal you want to offer interested buyers, and they can choose to accept or decline your offer. I love sending offers on an item if it hasn't sold for a while and I just want it gone. People get a good deal and you get something sold. Lastly, let's talk about shipping. Shipping sounds scary, but it's actually much easier than you think. The shipping materials you need depend on what you're selling, but cardboard boxes, poly mailers, bubble wrap, and packaging tape are generally all you need. I'll have some links below of the things I buy, but anything you find will work. As far as shipping, you can read all of the possible shipping settings and make your own choices, but I'd recommend starting with these settings. Buyer pays shipping. Don't ship international. USPS media mail for books, movies, games, and USPS ground advantage for random stuff under 70 pounds. Then you're done. Wait for your item to sell. You want to confirm that your buyers paid. Once they have, you have two options: print a shipping label yourself or get a QR code which you can use to get a label at a USPS drop-off location. If you're just starting, go with the QR code option. All you need to do is properly wrap and secure your item, then take the QR code to a drop-off location where they'll print the label out for you and attach it to your package. If you print the shipping label, just attach it to your package yourself. When you start selling more stuff, you'll want to get a thermal printer which will allow you to print the labels as stickers that you can just slap on your package. That's everything you need to know to start making money reselling. Next, I'll talk about other tips to scale your reselling and start making serious money. Up until now, we've been learning how to find good items, list them well, and ship consistently. That's enough to make money reselling, but scaling your reselling business is what can turn this from a hobby into a meaningful source of income for you and your family. Scaling is not about working harder. It's about building a system so you can handle more inventory with less chaos and grow your profits at the same time. Your goal here is to effectively organize your inventory and find ways to consistently source new products to sell. You also want to build repeatable listing processes and track some of the numbers related to your growth. Organizing your inventory so you don't hate your life. I know it sounds crazy when you're starting out, but if you don't organize your inventory as a bigger reseller, it can drastically slow down your business. You might start out by keeping stuff in the garage or an extra room in your house, but as your operation grows, you need to keep that area organized so you can quickly and easily find stuff when it sells. A good rule of thumb is if you can't locate an item in 30 seconds, your system is broken. So we're gonna build a system that makes it basically impossible to lose items. The simplest inventory that scales only needs 3 things: bins, a labeling system, and a way to connect the item to the bin. You can start with cheap, clear bins, storage totes, or boxes that you find lying around the house. You don't need some fancy warehouse setup. Label them simply like A1, A2, B1, B2. Then when you list an item, you can assign it to a bin location. Place the item in a bin and then take pictures with the Flipper app and add it to a bin with the same name. You can then group them by category, make notes about the item condition, and prep it for listing. This might look like bin A1, media, bin A2, clothing, bin B2, jeans. How much inventory should you have? Most people ask this like there's some magic number, but the real question is, how much inventory can you list, store, and ship without breaking your system? The truth is, inventory you don't list is clutter. Here's a guideline that you can use to help you figure out how much stuff to buy. Your inventory should match your listing speed. If you can list 5 items per day, you want enough inventory to stay consistent, but not so much that you drown. A simple target you can set is to have 1 to 2 weeks of unlisted inventory max. If you go beyond that, you'll start accumulating items and clutter that never go away. The other important metric to track is weeks of runway. This is how long you could keep operating if you didn't make any more money. If flipping is a significant part of your income, the amount of inventory you have is directly tied to how long you can keep supporting yourself as a reseller. Ask yourself, if I stopped sourcing today, how long could I keep listing daily? For most people, a healthy runway is around 1 to 2 months. Any less than that, and you're in danger of going out of business. If you have longer than 2 months of runway, you may start to accumulate clutter. In the beginning, reselling is about learning what to sell. Scaling a reselling business is about speed and consistency. Flipper helps because it compresses the slowest parts of reselling, which are what items are, understanding sales metrics like its actual price and sell-through rate, choosing what's worth buying, and keeping everything organized. When you're scaling your reselling business, you want to scan way more than you did as a beginner. That means scanning entire shelves, stacks, or bins of items. Your goal becomes to see more inventory per hour than the average reseller, because then you're likely to find more profitable items. As a beginner, you might ask, is this a good item to flip? But as you learn and scale, you start to ask, are these sourcing methods consistent? Is this category worth my time? What's my profit per hour? Starting to ask these questions early will help you think like a full-time business operator and help you find ways to optimize your own methods. Optimizing your sourcing. Consistent inventory beats lucky inventory. Though it's fun to find one crazy flip that earns you hundreds of dollars, the reality is the small and consistent margins are where you make your real money. As you learn more about different niches and what actually sells, look for repeatable ways to sell those items faster, and soon you'll be able to sell more of that item in the same amount of time. The profit per item may not be as good, but your quicker, consistent methods will lead to way more profit in the long run than targeting the crazy treasure finds. The best sourcing strategy is boring. Pick 2 to 3 sourcing methods and get super consistent with them. This could be 3 thrift stores that you rotate between every week, Facebook Marketplace bulk buys twice a week, garage sales every Saturday morning, 1 monthly estate sale route, or 1 liquidation or clearance lane if you do arbitrage. The goal is to take reliable inputs and turn them into reliable outputs. How to find your best sourcing spots. Track these 3 things: how much you spent, how much profit you brought home, and how many of those items sold in 60 days. Over time, you'll start to notice things about these places, such as some stores are good for books but terrible for games. Some areas are loaded with clothing but they're low on media. Some sellers on Marketplace are gold mines if you treat them right. As a reseller, you want to have some sort of rhythm for when you do all of the different parts of running your business. You'll have multiple days for sourcing items, but you probably want to dedicate time and even entire days to photographing and listing your items, organizing your inventory, and shipping out things that have sold. You can source every day, every other day, but make sure you're always shipping. A simple structure could be 2 days sourcing, 3 days listing, and shipping every day for a minimum of 5 days a week. If you do that consistently, you'll beat out most resellers. A lot of people do random bursts of effort and then disappear, but being consistent and doing a little bit every day will set you apart from everyone else and create huge profits. There's always more you can learn when you're reselling, but this will help you get started and start growing your business. I have tons of other resources you can reference if you want to learn more. Thanks for your time and good luck flipping.